All right, welcome to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Today is May 8th, 2024. Again, Mother's Day is quickly approaching. Go out and get your gifts. My Pillow, by the way, has some great gifts, $25 extravaganza, mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl. I mean, they got all types of deals, from the pillows to the sandals to dish towels to other towels to, I mean, you got hundreds of products now at mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl. Or give them a call at 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. Normally, I save the ads for later in the program, but Mother's Day is quickly approaching. Now, I want you to get that out of the way. All right, so now, follow me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. And also subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. I'm sorry, I'm seriously in the middle of tweeting right now. Great job, UMass Police. Let's see more of this. I'm sorry. I'm literally scrolling through. Literally scrolling through X as we're doing this show. So forgive me. Welcome to the podcast. Okay, so the biggest story of the day, at least something that I want to address, is the Boy Scouts, the continued evolution of the Boy Scouts and the wussification of American men. And I really think that this is a very, 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 very important story. And I want to touch on it because I think it is absolutely, I just think it's absolutely crucial. First, before we do that, I do want to offer you some news. There's been some breaking news and I just posted it on X. So make sure you check out my X account. And that is at Carl Jackson Show on X. But the breaking news this morning is that the Georgia Court of Appeals will hear the disqualification case for Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Fani Willis, as you may remember, was hired this attorney. I believe his name was Nathan Ward. And she was basically having a sexual relation with this man, paid him over $600,000, one of the prosecutors on the Georgia case. They were using some of that money, he was allegedly, to take her on lavish vacations. She couldn't count for the money and all of this kind of good stuff. She was out to get Trump from the get-go. And her operation was being run dirty. She had come in as the DA of Fulton County. She had replaced the DA of Fulton County who was involved in scandal, and she got right up into the scandal. She was like, she said, at least I'm not going to be having sex, basically, with my subordinates. And then she did just that. The other attorneys that she hired to prosecute Trump and the Fulton County, Georgia election case, if you will, were being paid about $100,000. Those law firms where she paid her boyfriend, Nathan Ward, over $600,000 to his law firm. And again, they went on lavish vacations using that money, no telling how many dinner dates they had and all that kind of good stuff. And it was reported that he had gone to her apartment, I mean, dozens of times, literally even before he was hired. They claimed their relationship didn't start until after she had hired him. And that just that was a complete and utter lie. And so I really think Democrats want this to be over and done with too. But this wasn't the only good news, I believe, for Trump. And listen, I don't follow these things every day because we all know what they are. They are election interference. That is all these cases are about. They are all sham cases. And I don't say that to be dismissive. I'm sure there's some moderates or some Democrats that may be listening to this case. But guys, I mean, even from the Stormy Daniels case, the non-disclosure agreement case, you're talking about a woman that allegedly slept with Donald Trump nearly 20 years ago. There was no problem as far as the law was concerned with that agreement until Donald Trump decided that he was going to run for president again. And then all of a sudden you have a DA in Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, which still to this day, I don't even know how it's possible. I don't know how that court case isn't thrown out right away, because I don't understand how a district attorney can bring a federal crime against a former president. This is unprecedented. It's never been heard. It's never been heard before. And there were more shenanigans in the courtroom yesterday with Stormy Daniels. This was the lady that was apparently paid the money for the non-disclosure agreement. The hush money, as they're calling it, for the non-disclosure agreement. Basically, she was on the stand yesterday and you had her just talking about all types of stuff, illicit stuff from the alleged affair and so on, etc. Basically, personally attacking Trump, which is what the left, I think, wanted all along. The goal is to sully America's opinion of him, even going back years and years and years, as opposed to looking at his policy work. That judge admitted that she went too far, but and then tried to scold the defense. Why did you let her go so far? You should have objected more. And the defense was like, listen, we brought this up before she was even on. Basically they wanted her. They didn't want her to be able to testify. They brought this up with the judge, and so I think he allowed some of this testimony to take place, and then tried to throw it back on the defense because let's face it, he's a Biden supporter. He's donated to Biden. His daughter raises money for the Democrat Party, so that's what that is about. But that was a blow to the defense. I'm sorry, to the prosecution yesterday, even in that hush money trial. Again, a different trial from Fani Willis, because I think they have made room for more appeal. And then Trump had got this news that Judge Eileen Cannon in the Florida case, which according to attorneys that I've spoken to and that I've read, and I'm sure many of you have as well, this is the case that was not a sham case per se, regardless of how you might feel about it. There was some room where Trump possibly could have been brought up on some charges on this particular case. There were some legitimate concerns. Regardless of how you feel, that's what the attorneys were saying. This was the strongest case against Trump, even though I believe other presidents didn't suffer the same consequences. All right, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, so on, etc. But the claim from the prosecution was that Trump had ample time to return documents. He did not, despite the fact that the FBI had gone to Mar-a-Lago, told him to put a lock on wherever these documents were. He did just that, and then they decided to raid Mar-a-Lago and make a big show of it. Well, the big news yesterday is that Judge Eileen Cannon has postponed that case indefinitely, and even some of the preliminary trial hearings are going to be postponed all the way up through mid-July or so. So that means that this case is likely not going to be heard until after the election. All right, so that was a blow. I think all three cases are starting to blow up in the Democrats' face. I still believe they might get a conviction, even though in the Alvin Bragg case, the Stormy Daniels case, if you will, but I do believe from all attorneys that I've spoken to and read that will be thrown out eventually on appeal as well. But the goal is to bloody up former President Donald Trump. So I just want to make you aware of that. And now let me do this before we go here, Gabe. I want to go right to I want to go shortly here to the Boy Scouts of America. This was devastating news, and I got to be honest with you. I knew the Boy Scouts in America was over and done with, but there was a bit of hope. For the most part, I should say, I thought they were over and done with, but there was a bit of hope on my part that they would resurge somehow, some way. You know, I have a buddy of mine that used to be a part of the Boy Scouts of America, and then he opened Trailblazers USA, John Stenberger, with Florida Family Policy Council, or at least formerly with Florida Family Policy Council, and he opened up a different type of Boy Scouts where it is a faith-based, more conservative organization, still committed to teaching young men how to grow into being men and how to teach them to be honorable and build their character, as well as give them some skills that other young men might not have that don't participate in the Boy Scouts. So there are organizations that are popping up. Trail Life USA is the organization that I'm thinking of that is growing to replace the Boy Scouts of America. So anyway, make sure you check them out. But just to reiterate again, Trump had a good day in court yesterday. This according to CNBC. I'm just going over their summary, even though I've given you mine. So the federal judge Tuesday indefinitely postponed the criminal classified documents trial for Trump. The trial on charges that Trump will willfully retain classified national security records after leaving the White House and then hid them from federal authorities was scheduled to start on May 20th. And we know that isn't true. He was going back and forth and negotiating with these people. The new ruling from U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon vacates the date and sets a new slate of pretrial proceedings, the latest of which is a hearing set for July 22nd. So that is a big win for the former president. And also, the trial in the New York City trial proves to be a political hit on Trump. This is what they're saying at National Review. As porn star Stormy Daniels' testimony unfolds, what has always been obvious becomes even more explicit, they write, and the point of this trial is to bruise Donald Trump politically, to humiliate him with a list of sexual episodes from nearly 20 years ago that is utterly unnecessary to prove the charges are in the case. And regardless of what you may feel about Donald Trump, when it comes to the rule of law and you go into a courtroom, and I've been into a courtroom plenty of times in my younger days, thank God, not recently, but the goal is to prove the charges, right? Or to speak specifically as to the issues, speak specifically to the issues pertaining to the case. When you have a witness that gets on the stand and they go off on this tangent, no, she can speak as to the non-disclosure agreement. That is it. That is it. That is all. That is the law. Anything beyond that, I think the judge allowed too much to go on purposely myself. All right. So that's just it. Governor Kathy Hochul, we spoke about this yesterday, claims to regret saying black children don't know what computers are. I think she should resign. That's what the left would be asking for. And I'm not trying to do, whataboutism, or, that's what should happen. She should resign. And honestly, she's not sorry for it. This is what they believe. All right. This is what they believe. This is what the Democrat Party believes. And the fact that you have black Americans that will support the Democrat Party that have heard of this story and know about this story just proves to me that they're not serious voters as well. You call out Republicans all the time for holding blacks to a higher standard and saying, listen, we're just as capable as any other person of achieving our dreams inside of the United States of America. And you get some chick like this on the left that says, you know what? Black people aren't as smart. Basically, they don't know what the word computer is. All right. So the Daily Wire writes, a new poll found that most U.S. college students don't support the. I'm sorry. That's the wrong story. Wrong story. Anyway, so she's being bashed a little bit. So she's backtracking on that just a tad bit. And honestly, she should definitely resign, in my opinion. All right. Anything else I need? Biden's 2020 coalition fading away. We all see that, but don't take that for. I wouldn't take that for granted. All right. So the big news today: Trump had a lot of legal victories, even though he's not out of the woods. But yesterday was a great day for Donald Trump in the court system. Okay, so let me get to this story, and I want to play this. This is Roger Crone. He's the CEO of the Boy Scouts of America. Gabe, let me ask you a question. This isn't something that I would normally do, but just first, sometimes you can look at a person, and guys, this is totally hypothetical, but you can look at a person and something just doesn't look right. Something just doesn't feel right. My first impression when I look at this guy, he just looks kind of weak. And honestly, if I'm looking at him, I want to hear what he has to say. We'll play the video, but just looking at him, I know this is wrong, right? Because you can't judge a book by its cover necessarily. Sometimes you can, honestly, but necessarily. But let's hear what Roger Crone has to say, the CEO of the Boy Scouts of America, that are undergoing yet another name change and another evolution to the Boy Scouts. And I want to speak to this because this is detrimental to American society, to civilization as a whole, the way men are viewed. It is important to have real men in society, regardless of what the left says, regardless of what the feminist movement says. And you can't take the left, the liberal feminist movement, seriously anymore, right? Because they are allowing men to encroach in their space, and they're just stepping to the side as men pretending to be women are now women, according to liberal feminists. What a bunch of fakes and phonies. All right, but here's Roger Crone. Let's go ahead and play the video. Por favor, Gabe.
sends this really strong message to everyone in America that they can come to this program, they can bring their authentic self, they can be who they are, right, and they will be welcomed here. The argument that I make with the people that say, well, I always like Boy Scouts of America or BSA, why do we have to change? Go, membership is at historic lows, right? Part of my job is to reduce all the barriers I possibly can for people to accept us as an organization and to join.
Okay, so they're trying to remove all the barriers that they possibly can so more people will join the Boy Scouts of America, which he wants young men and women, I guess, to come in and to be their authentic self. So we know he's a liberal. We know he's down for the trans movement, right? Just basically based on what he said. And this is a sure sign that the Boy Scouts of America is going to be null and void, that they are going to cease to exist, that the membership is going to continue to decrease because they hired the wrong person to build up the Boy Scouts of America. You want a real man, dare I say, to come in as the leader of the Boy Scouts of America and say, no, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to kowtow. We're not going to capitulate to these left-wing radicals. And by the way, this is what the left has intended to do. I remember reading stories 8, 9, 10, actually even longer during the Obama administration. And the feminists, right? And some of these lefty loons, they wanted to take down the Boy Scouts of America because of toxic masculinity, right? This is something the left has aimed to do all along. And now you have the CEO of the Boy Scouts of America that are actually complicit in the takedown of real men in society. And this started happening literally, quite some time ago now. I remember hearing stories of it, even locally, things that were happening with the Boy Scouts. And it's absolutely sad. It is really a sad state. But I really want to get into this, and I will just shortly here. Before I start, I want to go through this column from the Daily Signal. But I do, before I get started, want to talk to you about the wealth protection research. All right, at the very heart of our democracy lies a principle that we hold sacred, and that is free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom that we cherish, allowing ideas to flourish, debates to ignite, and progress to be made. Without it, our pursuit of liberty, our ability to challenge, and our capacity to innovate would be severely constrained. Yet, in today's digital age, the very platform that should democratize information is being used to narrow the spectrum of ideas we're exposed to. Important discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being systematically silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations that are crucial to our financial independence and security. This is where wealth protection research steps in, armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. They are defenders of free speech, committed to giving a voice to the silence. In an era where dialogues about retirement investments and economic freedoms are increasingly censored, Wealth Protection Research is focused on ensuring that diverse, controversial, and revolutionary ideas have a platform. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out the financial experts, the thought leaders, and the trailblazers who have been pushed to the margins by mainstream media and tech platforms like Facebook and Google. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, offering fresh, often contrarian perspectives on protecting and growing your wealth, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. By spotlighting these thinkers like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry, Wealth Protection Research is not just sharing financial advice, they are fostering a movement towards a more open, informed, and free society. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 Election Wealth Protection Report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. All you have to do is text the word IDEAS, IDEAS, to the number 76626. Again, text the word IDEAS, IDEAS, to 76626. And if you text that word IDEAS today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from Wealth Protection Research. Their sponsor is Augusta Precious Metals, or sponsored by Augusta Precious Metals. So again, text the word IDEAS today to Wealth Protection or to 76626. All right, and you'll get that free investment kit. All right, so Now let's move on. I want to talk to you about real manhood because you didn't see it, right? You didn't see it in that previous clip with the new CEO Roger Crone. And let me just go through this real quickly here. This from the Daily Signal. All right, so basically, here's what's happening. Boy Scouts are changing their name again. Carl, with all that's going out there, why is this such a big deal? Why is this such a big story? Because this continues to undermine a civil society. Guys, in order for a civil society to exist, in order for a society or civilization to be built, you need men and women. And you need those men and women to play the roles that they were designed. Oh, you're such a misogynist. No, the roles that they were designed to play, right? That doesn't mean that women can't work or men can't, do more around the house. I'm not talking about, but generally speaking, God designed men for certain things and he designed women for certain things. Obviously, when it comes to women, birth is one of them. So it's so sad that you have a bunch of women out there that will sleep around and then kill their babies and not experience the blessings of motherhood. But now you have this organization that's 115 years old. It was launched to develop skills and character among boys and young men back in the day. Now it'll be known as Scouting America because it's going to be inclusive, right? This is the goal, guys. I can tell you that virtually. And listen, I know that the Boy Scouts had their troubles. I understand, there were some of these Catholic leaders, priests, whatever, that were associated with the Boy Scouts of America too, and probably just people in general outside of the Catholic Church. It isn't my goal to attack the Catholic Church here. That were just straight up pedophiles, right? Unfortunately, sin exists on this planet, and then you've got to deal with that, and you've got to weed them out. And they took action in regards to that. Even though it may have been too little too late for many people. But nonetheless, you need organizations like the Boy Scouts of America that would foster bringing up young boys to be honorable and strong mentally and physically young men, as well as teach them some skills and give them a little bit of confidence. So again, this was a organization that was launched to build character and develop skills for young men. The name change reflects, quote, the organization's ongoing commitment to welcome every youth and family in America to experience the benefits of scouting. This is what the group said. Now, what does that mean when you say welcome every youth? All right. So they're just talking about age. They're not talking about boys or girls. They're talking about trans. That's what they're talking about. Or family in America. LGBTQ basically has taken over everything. They're redefining family. So family is no longer man, woman, and child. It's whatever the hell you want it to be. And this is how society falls. Again, guys, you don't have to. This is what I hate. People get, and guys, I say this as a person that screwed up big time as I was younger. And I'm not the perfect, father or husband today, but I screwed up big time when I was younger, just sleeping around, buying into this nonsense. That when Bill Clinton said it, I remember when Bill Clinton said that a family, I forget exactly how he said it now, but I always thought of a family as the nuclear, the traditional family, man, woman, and child. And then he basically rebranded what family could be to include the lesbian and gay community. And then I started rethinking stuff. I didn't know any better. But as I grew older, obviously, I realized what the left was trying to do with that. It's complete nonsense. So even if you don't grow up in a perfect situation where you have a mother and a father in the home together, married, understand that is the best situation for a child. And all studies, if they're honest, prove that out. All right. So they go on to say, through our name will be new, though our name will be new. This is Roger Crone, the guy that you saw at the beginning. Our mission remains unchanged. We are committed to teaching young people to be prepared for life. Well, that's a straight up lie. Of course your mission is unchanged. If your mission wasn't changed, you wouldn't change a freaking name. Good God. This will be a simple but very important evolution as we seek to ensure that everyone feels welcome in scouting. Why is it an evolution if your mission isn't changing, Roger Crone? I pray to God. I pray to God this freaking organization implodes. It's worthless. It's worthless now. It is worthless now. The name change comes just 5 years after the Boy Scouts of America began accepting girls into the program. So feminists wanted girls into the program, and then the Boy Scouts capitulated. Scouting America, formerly Boy Scouts of America, listen to this, currently serves more than 176,000 girls and young women across all programs, including over 6,000 who have earned the rank of Eagle Scout. And guys, I got to tell you, from my buddy John Stenberger, Scott Pressler, you guys know Scott Pressler, working out there to get votes and register people for voting. He's really become big in the conservative political arena for doing that. He was a Boy Scout. These people are taught to be confident in their skills and to work hard and to figure out, solution oriented, so on, etc. That's one of the benefits that he admitted, both Scott Pressler and John Stenberger, that the Boy Scouts gave them. It gives you a sense of confidence that a lot of young men may not have, particularly if you grow up without a father. So if you did grow up without a father and you participated in the Boy Scouts, chances are you're going to learn some valuable character lessons and some skills that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. Traditionally, the younger boys first became what they call Cub Scouts before graduating to Boy Scouts, and then girls became Brownies before graduating to Girl Scouts. Now, Boy Scouts began allowing the openly gay youth to participate in 2013, then openly gay leaders in 2015. So I got a question for all of you that would call out the pedos, the pedophiles that were in the Boy Scouts of America. Why would you open the door for more pedophiles inside of the Boy Scouts of America? This is what happens when you allow the left wing, people that have no standards, to just run stuff. This is absolutely insane. Now listen to this. Scott, this is a quote from Roger Crone, the new CEO that's going to completely destroy the Boy Scouts of America. Scouting America provides a welcoming, safe environment where youth can become the best version of themselves. That's what we heard earlier, by learning from and respecting each other. He said, I encourage everyone to join us and experience the benefits of scouting, the best version of themselves. This is what they're going to become. How are they going to become the best version of themselves when you're teaching them that they aren't necessarily themselves if they're born a boy or a girl? Or at least that's what you're implying. After COVID, the membership and the participation has declined significantly. The rebranding of the Boy Scouts to Scouting America comes after this group, again, experienced lots of challenges during the COVID lockdowns, but they were actually experiencing many challenges before that. Once people figured out that the Boy Scouts had been co-opted by the LGBTQ community, it was pretty much over. And now you have this new leader coming in. It's just going to be an absolute disaster. The AP reported in 2021 that the membership for Boy Scouts of America had failed. Listen to this, from 1.9 million in 2019, and they were already experiencing a precipitous drop, to 1.1 million in 2020. So you're talking about in a span of 1 year, they lost 800,000 people, and that number continued to fall in 2021. According to the group's website, the scouting organization has over 1 million members, ranging in age from 5 to 21 today. Now, the Girl Scouts aren't complete. They're a completely separate organization. I didn't realize. I thought they were, same organization, just girls and boys, but they're not. They're a completely different entity. So although it says here, Scouting America is intentionally branding itself as an organization for all youth, Girl Scouts of the USA maintains that although its organization is aimed at girls, it allows transgender youth to participate. So you see, this is why you don't follow the left. The left wanted girls in the Boy Scouts, and now they're allowing boys inside of the Girl Scouts, boys pretending to be men. You see how that works? These people. This is what happens when you get rid of objective truth in the society. This is going to, this is bound to fail, and I hope it does. Frankly, I hope it does. I have no remorse for the Boy Scouts of America. No sympathy, I should say. I'm sorry, for the Boy Scouts of America. All right. So actually in 2018, it says here, after the Boy Scouts began admitting girls, the Girl Scouts filed a lawsuit claiming the Boy Scouts was damaging its recruiting efforts. So the Girl Scouts sued the Boy Scouts for taking in girls, and now they're bringing in boys pretending to be girls. it's all a fraud. Get your kids out of it. It's sad to see, because I appreciate what they do. You see these young girls selling their Girl Scouts cookies at the stores. I don't even buy that stuff anymore. I don't want any part of this crap. And I feel bad, because I do realize that those kids are still learning some valuable lessons, but they don't realize that their leadership has totally destroyed their brand. And I don't want to participate in that crap. And honestly, I would find a separate organization. If I were you, if your kid is in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, I would find a separate organization to have them participate in. I want to show you this video real quick. And then I found this column. I had to go back 16 years to find a column that I thought was worthwhile reading on manhood. And I'm sure I could find some in some conservative spaces, but just generally speaking, it's very hard to search Google now. But generally speaking, finding something that worked on Google. So, and it's called 7 Vital Characteristics of a Man. And I wanna share this with you after we play this video. Let's go ahead and roll this video, por favor. And let me set this up. So basically, you have two guys. I posted this on my X page. I want you guys to go check it out. I want you guys to go check it out on my X page. And this is, let me make sure I get this guy that they're confronting. His name is Herschel Weingrod. He is the screenwriter. He wrote several movies, big movies, including Space Jam with Michael Jordan. He's also the screenwriter for the movie Twins. You guys may remember that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito. I actually never watched that movie. I wanted to back in the day, but never watched it. It's been on TV before. I still have never watched it. Trading Places. I literally just watched that a few weeks ago in the middle of the night. I could barely sleep. It was on, and I was like, no way, Trading Places. And I found myself watching a good portion of it, and I was like, man, it's kind of crazy to remember what they would talk about back then. But it was like, man, they don't make movies this funny anymore. Well, he was the screenwriter for that. Kindergarten Cop. So there is a serious sickness in Hollywood. This is what's being reported. So we're going to play this video again. This is Herschel Weingrod. This guy looks like he's pushing 80. And he's trying to mac to a little 15-year-old girl. And he was exposed by apparently live streamers Vitaly and Martin. I've never heard of them before, but obviously this is getting big attention. So let's go ahead and roll the video, por favor, Gabe, and I want to talk to you about manhood real quick.
What's your name?
Oh.
What's your name?
Who are you?
What's your name?
Who are you?
Why are you still with my fucking daughter? What's your name? What is your name?
Boris. My name is Boris.
Boris. What's your name? Shake my hand.
What's the problem?
Why are you still with my daughter? You know how old she is?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
No.
The f you thought was gonna happen here?
Nothing. We're gonna have a pizza. I don't know.
Pizza? Yeah, you don't know? How old is she?
Brad.
You know how old she is?
I matched with her. She was 23.
23. Is that what the conversation looked like?
You remember the text messages? She was 23 on a
23.
dating site.
On a dating site?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was 23 on
How old is she?
site. I have no idea.
Lila, how old are you?
I'm sorry. She was 23 on a dating site. All we've done is
So
talk.
she didn't tell you how old she was?
She did.
She did?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She said she was 15.
How did she tell you how old she actually is?
She said she was 15.
She said she's 15. Why are you here? Why are you sitting here?
I'm just having a
With a fucking 15-year-old?
pizza.
Piece of pizza with a fucking 15-year-old.
It's not against
You think
the
that's
law.
okay?
I think it's not against the law.
It's not against the law?
No.
Is that all you spoke about to her?
We've just been talking.
Really?
Yeah, we've been talking and flirting. It's not a big deal.
Where are you going?
I ordered a pizza. I'm going to go.
Okay, have a seat. Have a seat.
Why?
I'll sit with you. I'll eat pizza with you. We're just having pizza, right?
Sorry.
Sit right here.
Sorry.
Sit right here.
Sorry.
Where? I don't know. Whoa, excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
You said you wanted a kiss, touch, and lick, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's just weird. I don't understand what people
So you're a
say.
pedophile trying to meet a 15-year-old. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a boy. It's a girl.
Whoa.
Yeah, you are.
Wait.
We need to hear audio.
Look at this guy. Look. Clown. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna say.
What are you doing? It's like,
I'm like, we can't grab him.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't grab it.
Nope.
You can't do that.
Let him go. Let him go.
All right. So anyway, the guy runs back into his, his apartment complex. We can go ahead and cut it, Gabe. He runs back into his apartment complex, and what's sad is this is obviously prominent in Hollywood. We've had guests on and talk about this. Arden Young has talked about this before on the program. This is prevalent in Hollywood. There's a lot of pedophiles that are in Hollywood. So parents, if you're taking your kids to Hollywood, you better make sure that you keep them guarded. Because there are predators out there, and sadly, I would assume that if this guy is doing that at this age, this isn't the first time that he's done it. All right, I think that's a safe assumption to make. Obviously, nothing happened there, but that's only because he was set up. But there's no telling how many people sadly got through, and this is why I'm so disappointed with Boy Scouts of America, because what you need is men to be protectors of society. What real men clean society up. You have protectors and you had a pedophile. All right. So real men take care of society. They take care of business. So I went to find these attributes of basically of a real man. 7 vital characteristics of a man. I doubt that you would even find an article like this in mainstream media, but they talk about the physical strength of a man, the function of a man, the sexual prowess of a man, the emotions of a man, the intellect of a man, the interpersonal skills of a man, and other issues as well. So let's just go through these real briefly. And this is more secular, but I will Christify it or Christianify it, if you will. But just real quickly, physical. They say only a man who knows what it is like to be defeated can reach down to the bottom of his soul and come up with the extra ounce of power it takes to win when the match is even. That's actually a quote from Muhammad Ali. They go on to say whether competing for food, fighting hand to hand, or challenging each other in the sporting arena, mastery of one's own physical abilities is an important part of being a man. The most primitive, yet still one of the most prominent traits, a man's physical capability affects everything from self-preservation to mating preferences. The health and virility of a male make him an appealing candidate for partnership with the opposite sex, while strength and stature still prove to be influential factors in both the social and business world. Men are created as physical beings. Obviously, women are too, but men are physical. Men are strong. You're not going to change that. That's why women can. That's why men that try to transform into women will try to invade women's sports, but it's not vice versa. It doesn't happen that way because everybody understands the truth. And men being tough and being physical have a role to play in society, whether it's fighting wars, right? Whether it's defending women, whether it's defeating pedophiles, men have a role in society. And so this is why that Boy Scouts thing really bothers me. The functionality of men. This is another quote. Happy the man who, like Ulysses, has made a fine voyage, or has won the golden fleece, and then returns experienced and knowledgeable to spend the rest of his life among his family. So they talk about the function of the man in family. Throughout time, a man's ability and desire to provide for those that depend on him has been central to his masculinity. While utilizing a combination of physical ability, wit, savvy, and ambition to succeed, his role as the breadwinner is what drives a man to achieve. No matter the geographic location or social situation, men work primarily to feed and create an environment of comfort for their wife and family. This is commonly accepted. They accept the role of man within the social system and proves a formidable challenge that every man must accept. And so the feminist movement, I really believe, has done a doozy on men, and now they're having a doozy done on them with the trans movement. And this isn't meant to say that a man should be abusive or meant to say that a woman always has to be at home or stay at home. But that is to say that every man should strive to take care of his woman, and women shouldn't take that from the man. Otherwise, what you get is a bunch of anti-Jew protesters on college campuses that have no ambition, that have no, it's all about tearing down a system. No real purpose, no real meaning, not real men. You get the wussification of men that are emasculated. And I'm not talking about men that are physically abusive. I hate the term toxic masculinity. There's no such thing. There are toxic people. There's toxic men. There are toxic women. It's as simple as that. Sexual. It says here, I've always thought that every woman should marry and no man. So obviously, I don't feel that way, but I understand it. Basically, they're saying that a man has a serious sexual appetite, and he doesn't want to be contained to marriage or constrained to marriage, if you will. But that's where Christianity, that's where religious and faith comes in. And that way, you learn to be satisfied in a relationship with one woman, and you restrain yourself, you use self-control, and that is that isn't an easy task for any man, including myself. But this is what brings out the maturity in men, and this is what helps men become the men that are needed, not just for, in my opinion, God's kingdom, but for a civil society to be able to flourish. It says, when it comes to partnership, the man is perceived to be the less affected of the genders. Traditionally, it's been more acceptable for a man to remain a bachelor later in life compared to a woman. The desire for independence and freedom from the command of others is typically a masculine trait. I would argue that you would have a better society the younger men get married. I think men should get married young. I really do. The same is true for women. A man's role as an aggressor in finding a mate is frequent, recognized in most cultures, leaving him to seek out and pursue his interests. Although this sounds like an archaic and primeval practice, it is still a very large part of the courting process in modern society. In fact, this image of a man's independence has become so accepted, even glorified mainstream culture, that married men often feel compelled to follow this independence still. All right. Anyway, emotional feelings are not supposed to be logical. Dangerous is the man who has rationalized his emotions. David Bornstein. And isn't that what we see across these college campuses? Isn't that what we see on the left? Isn't that what we saw from the CEO of Boy Scouts of America, Roger Crone? Isn't that what we've seen? It absolutely it just disgusts me what's happening to men. Now, I'm not saying that men can't cry or anything like that. Of course, there's going to be times where men get emotional, but men oftentimes have to deny their emotions because they're supposed to lead in that way. It says the denial of one's emotions is ingrained in men from a very early age. The phrase "boys don't cry" about sums it up. Whatever his position, a man must manage without regard to the emotional effect the issues have on him. The ability to suppress personal feelings enables men to maintain an objective view of the circumstance and carry on. A man is then able to make rational decisions, whether in a situation as small as an interpersonal debate or as catastrophic as a bloody battlefield. That said, it is necessary and healthy for a man to have someone that can confide in, a mentor, a brother, a friend, and let the old guard down once in a while so the stress isn't bottled up to the point of exploding. All right. And honestly, man, we see this. We see this with single women raising men, and they grow up to be very emotional, many of them violent. You can look at the stats, how many people are in prison nowadays, or a lot of the men that are in prison, many of them, the vast majority didn't have their fathers in their lives. So presumably they had their mothers in their lives, and they learn to be emotional rather than contain or restrain their strength, right? Intellectual, number 5. To me, being an intellectual doesn't mean knowing about intellectual issues. It means taking pleasure in them. Men are seen to rely on their intellectual capabilities rather than on emotion or intuition. Utilization of reason and logic enable men to view situations objectively and thus respond to them in a rational way. Only factual information is considered, while feelings are deemed unsuitable evidence on which to base decisions. I think this is very important. Even when it comes to intellect, listen, let me expound on this. I think this relates to trades too. I was working with a gentleman, a friend of mine the other day, John Holmes, doing some irrigation work, and he was teaching me some things about, irrigation, right? And so plumbing, sprinklers, and all this kind of stuff, man. And I'm like, man, it takes a brain to know this stuff, to figure this stuff out. It's not all monkey business, but men, that's what men do. And that's what men are for. And it's not to say that women can't do it, but that's what men are for. Number 6, a true man hates no one I'm not sure about that. In interpersonal relationships, men are prone to adapt leadership roles and take the initiative to act on the other's behalf. This can manifest itself negatively in the form of dominant behavior by suppressing the will of others in the name of self-interest. However, this leadership can also be utilitarian. It is highly effective in the family model as the father is able to establish order in the household. Giving direction and acting as a disciplinarian are common function of men as a result. So by suppressing the will of others in the name of self-interest, very important important point. But men are prone to adopt leadership roles and take the initiative to act on the behalf of others. This is what makes men protective. And honestly, there was a book that I read years ago, A Man of Steel and Velvet, and it was what Jesus embodied. He was a man of steel, able to take on tough subjects and be tough, but also he knew when to be compassionate and how those intertwine. But fascinating take. And then the last thing, the most successful men in the end are those whose success is the result of steady accretion. It is the man who carefully advances step by step, with his mind becoming wider and wider and progressively better able to grasp anything or situation, preserving in what he knows to be practical and concentrating his thought upon it, who is bound to succeed in the greatest degree. That's Alexander Graham Bell. Among some of the other characteristics commonly attributed to the man are ambition, pride, honor, competitiveness, and a sense of adventure. You get rid of those attributes in men, your society falls. This is why the Boy Scouts of America leave it. They're useless now. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Oh, and new t-shirts. I forgot to show you for those of you that are on Rumble and YouTube. Love guns, hate tyranny. CarlJacksonMerch.itemorder.com. CarlJacksonMerch.itemorder.com. You can check it out there. Appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.